Okay, so good morning, everyone. My name's Laura Bibby, and I'm joined here by Matthew Ottaway. We're both professional assessment coordinators at IOSH, and our job is to essentially help members on their journey through the different membership grades with IOSH. So I'm just going to be talking to you today about CPD, and I'm going to take you through a short presentation, then I'll pass you over to Matt to give you a demonstration of the live site. Okay, so before we get into how to create a CPD record, I'm just going to go through a few short examples or a few benefits of completing CPD in the first place. So it'll help you to create a structured career path, as well as safeguarding and boosting your professional status. Now, because you are creating a development plan within your CPD record, this will help you to set objectives and map out your learning, which will help you progress in your career. Here are just a few more examples of the benefits of CPD. So it enables you to give competent advice, it identifies your strengths and weaknesses, and it also enhances your professionalism. Now, all of this is achieved by adding the activities onto your development plan. Okay, so there are 4 stages to a successful CPD record. Now, the first step is your plan. So this covers your development plan. This is where you set out your objectives and any learning outcomes you want to achieve. The next step is do. So this will be your activities. So any activities that you have completed, you'd add onto your CPD record. The next step is reflection. So you'd reflect on them activities that you've just added. And the final step is review. So this is where you'll evaluate the impact of them activities. Okay, so I'll go into a little bit more detail about recording your CPD. So as I said, Matt will go through a demonstration of the live site. So he'll go over this in a bit more detail, but just to summarize quickly how to record your CPD record. The first step is to write your development plan. Now, your development plan, you'd add a single activity, give it the title development plan, and add the dates on there. Now, the dates will be from the day you started for a 12-month period. And this is your opportunity to add all the information that you need. So within that, we'd ask you to include your job roles and responsibilities, set any objectives for the next 6 to 12 months, and then add any strengths and areas of development. Now, we're not after essays in this area, so just a brief overview of this information is all that's required. Once you've added your development plan and that's all set up in place, we'll then ask you to add some activities. Now, we ask for 6 activities within a rolling 12-month period, and this is from the date that you join us. So as long as you're adding 6 activities over the year, that's all that's required. Now, within them activities, we ask you to write a detailed reflective statement. Now, the reflective statement should include these 4 questions. So the first one is, what was the activity? The second is, why did you carry out that activity? The third is, what was the understanding or knowledge you gained from that activity? And how did you apply the knowledge gained? As long as you're including all of this information into your reflective statement, that is all that we need. Again, we're not after essays, just an overview of what that activity entitled. Okay, so finally, what is an activity? So an activity is absolutely anything that's keeping your health and safety knowledge up to date. Now, there's just a few short examples here of what you could include as an activity. One of them could be any work-based learning, so any courses that you're doing within your job role. It could be a formal qualification or any formal learning that you're currently doing. or it could be anything else that's keeping your knowledge up to date. So it could be any articles that you're reading, any research that you're completing, anything that you feel you can reflect upon, you can use as an activity. Okay, so I'm just going to pass you over to Matt now, and he's going to share his screen so that he can show you the live site.
Excellent. Thanks so much for that, Laura. So just to give a brief explanation as to what I'll be doing, I'll really be building on what Laura has just explained to everybody today. So that's Laura's giving you the information about what we're looking for. And so I'm going to show you it sort of in practice, if you like, really. So I'm just going to share my screen. Laura, can you see that? It says screen sharing is paused.
It's not come through yet.
1 second, let me stop that. Let's try that again. Let's try it this way. How about that?
Yes, we can see that now.
Perfect. Okay. Right then. So here we go. So this is the landing page, if you like, for the CPD. So when you first access your CPD, this is what you'll be greeted with. So the difference really between somebody who's accessing it for the first time and somebody who's been working on it before is that yellow box that's flashing at us, and we want that gone. So that's telling us, first of all, that we currently don't have a development plan and diary. So that's the first thing that we want to work on. So that's where we'll get things kicked off. And I think that Laura mentioned that in her presentation as well just there, that's the first thing we want to do. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now, when it comes to creating a development plan or an activity for that matter, we're going to start things off in the same place, which is right over here, add new activity. And that again is exactly what we're going to do. So we'll click on that link there. And that takes us to the next page. Now, before we start, just for information, this really is page 2 to the CPD, if so to speak. We've just seen page 1. This is page 2. That's it. There are no further pages on the CPD. It is that basic. It's just those 2 pages. What you put into it is down to you, and that of course changed the whole the CPD. So as I mentioned before, we're looking at the development plan, so that's what we're going to create right now. And the title, again, as Laura mentioned, will be development plan, but of course we need to spell it correctly. So that's what my first job is going to be. There we go. And we're going to say development plan. Actually, you know what? We're not going to do directly 2021. We're going to say September 2021. The reason I'm doing that is because yesterday during our presentation, we spoke about how the development plan can be 12 months or 6 months. Yesterday, I said 12 months. So today we'll just do 6 months, just for a bit of variation for those of you who were here yesterday as well. It doesn't really change how we're going to be doing things, but just for your information. So the status of the development plan is always started. It is never finished, because what we do is once the development plan date has come to an end, we then build upon it and extend the development plan. So instead of having lots and lots of them throughout section A, we have a single development plan, and that grows, so to speak. So the start date will be today. Now that also goes for, let's just say you've joined 3 months ago or whatever it may be, you've been a technical member and you haven't actually got around to starting your development plan. That's absolutely fine. All you need to do is put the start date for the day that you are doing it. You don't have to say, oh, well, actually I joined 3 months ago, so maybe I should put June or whatever it may be. No, it's the day that you're starting it. So we're looking at today. And the end date, as I mentioned before, we're going to look at the idea of the 6 months development plan rather than 12 months. There's no difference, of course, apart from the length of time. So as I say, so there we have it. So 6 months into the future, and we're looking at the 17th of March 2022. So that's the start of the development plan. Now let's look at the information. So I'm not going to create a full one, of course, because that would take too long, and we don't really have as much time to do that. So what I'm going to do, though, is put in 2 titles that go into the notes box for the development plan. By detailing these titles, you've created a development plan, and it's as simple as that. So here we go. So you may want to take note of this, because it is quite helpful to put in the notes box for your own development plan. It's not mandatory, but it is useful if that's the way you'd like to do it. So here we go. So my current job roles and responsibilities. So what's your current job role and what does that entail? So what are you asked to do in your current job role? If you want, you can copy your job spec into there, whatever may be. There's details about what you're currently doing in your professional career. So that's the first title or the first question, if you like. And the next one. So my goals and objectives for the next 6 months. So that's what we're looking at. As I mentioned before, we're looking at this idea of a 6-month development plan rather than 12. Once again, it's really up to you how you decide to manage that. But anyway, so my goals and objectives for the next 6 months. So let's just go back to the first question. So what am I doing now? What's my current job role and my current responsibilities? So what's happening in your present, in your today? The second title, my current goals and objectives for the next 6 months. What's happening in the future? What are you aiming to accomplish in the next 6 months? I like to mention, by the way, as well, that if you put something in there in the next 6 months area and that it comes to March next year and you haven't accomplished that, that's not a problem. It doesn't mean you fail a development plan. That doesn't exist. The idea is to have a goal, to have an aim, to have an ambition to strive towards. So it doesn't always have to be IOSH related by any means, as long as it's health and safety related, of course. But it could be, for example, some of you here today may be working through your IPD. So you could put complete your skills development portfolio or arrange your peer review interview, which is something, of course, you'd like to do. Become a charter member. It could be that you've just started a new role and you want to learn more about that role. There's many things. I mean, everything you can put in there. You're welcome to do so about your career, of course, you'd like to add. So that's the information. So it's about what's happening now, as in the job role and responsibilities, and what you're striving towards in the future, goals and objectives for the next 6 months. You'll see here we've got upload files. I like to bring this to everyone's attention simply because it does raise some questions sometimes. Do I need to add files to my activities or my plan? The answer to that is no, you do not need to. It is not considered mandatory to do so. You are welcome. The reason it is there is because people were asking for it in the past. They'd completed a qualification that they were quite proud of, and they wanted to upload the document onto their own CPD. So the option is there for you. Again, it's not checked in the sense that it has to be on there. We will take your word for the qualifications that you've put on there. So now we looked for the assign activity type section. So what that means is, what kind of activity is this? Now, we've already mentioned that we know what this is. This is our development plan, and we only want one. So that's what we're going to look at. So section A, the development plan and diary. To the far right side of the screen, we'll tick that box. And that's it. Before I click save, we'll just quickly revisit what we've looked at. So we've been told what we need to do. We've got the yellow box giving us instructions, which we have followed. So we've got the title, the development plan for September 2021. The status is started, and we've got the dates to reflect what we're trying to do. We're starting it today, and our end date, if you like, is the 17th of March. So that's when we're going to update it. We've got the information there that we're going to type up, and we'll pretend it's already there, just for argument's sake. And then we've allocated it to the correct section, which of course is section A. Now let's click save. Okay, so job one, the yellow box, gone. Fantastic. That's out of the way. And we've got the development plan in place in the section A. So we're happy with that. That's all there. Now, if you want to go into your development plan to update it, all you need to do is click on the title. And we're back here again, so you can add your notes. So your additional notes, whatever it may be, add notes here. Away you go. That's all down to you, so to speak, really. So let's take us back. I just want to also point out, we've got this green box here with an arrow in the middle, and I want to point that out because that does tend to cause confusion at times. When people are trying to access their activities or development plan, they do tend to click on there. It's understandable in error, and as you can see, it's lit up there, says download the CPD activity as a PDF file. So if you click on there, it just creates a PDF file, which of course you can't modify. So please don't get confused. It's there so if you want to download it and hand it over to somebody for whatever reason may be. Anyway, so development plan done. That's ticked. Now we're talking about creating an activity, and that's exactly what we're going to do. So once again, add new activity, and let's take us back to screen 2, as I mentioned previously. So What I'm going to do is, first of all, and I'm going to go back to what Laura said. She mentioned what an activity actually is. And she said anything that you do, health and safety related, that you benefit from as an activity. And I couldn't agree more. Anything that you do in a professional capacity within health and safety that you've learned from is an activity. And I do stress that you've learned from, because the whole purpose of this is, of course, your continuing professional development. So you need to show that you are developing yourself professionally. That's what CPD is all about, after all. So to make sure that everyone here today, including myself and Laura and Coyote, have in common is an activity. And so what I'm going to do is create the activity of the West Africa Conference. So that way we're all in agreement. Okay, so West Africa Conference, and we'll just put a bit of a, make it a bit longer. So there we go. So the activity that we're going to create today is West Africa Conference, September 2021. Everyone here today can do that for their CPD, because we're all here and we're all picking up some knowledge today. I'm going to tell a little lie and pretend that it's finished. It's the end of the day. It's all done, all over. Let's just pretend that's the truth just for now. And therefore, the status is finished. Whenever we create an activity, we want it to be finished. We want to look back onto it. If you don't, you're creating an activity that it could be started or planned or whatever it may be. It means you've got to go back to it to update it. It's just much easier to create an activity when the activity is completed. And that's the reason for that. So let's put the dates in. Of course, we've got start date of today and the end date for today, because we're referring to this particular presentation. So we move on to the notes. Now, the notes here will be different to that of the development plan. That's what separates the two, the development plan and the activities. I mentioned over and over again that development plan was about today and tomorrow, your current job role, your future plans, today, tomorrow, the present, the future. The activities is about the past. So once again, we're reflecting. It has been finished. So we're looking back at something that we've done. It can be something that you did last week, last month, or 10 minutes ago. So that's what we're doing right now. We're pretending this is completed and we're reflecting on this particular activity. So the pointers we're going to use to get the information out of us are as follows. The first one, pretty obvious. What was the activity? So that's the first thing you want to talk about in your reflective statement. What was the activity? The second thing is ask yourself, why did I do it? So why did I do this particular activity? Why was it worth my time? What made me think I should enroll in that? I should go to that. I should put myself into that. There's a reason for me to be in there. And what was it? Let's talk about it a little bit. And then the last one, it's kind of split in two, really, I suppose. We'll see how this turns out. What did I learn from this activity? You could also add, if you want to, sometimes that these 2 pointers come together, but I'll put them both anyway, so you can make your own decision. How will I learn? Beg your pardon. How will I use this knowledge in future? So the information that you've picked up today, how is that going to be used in the future? So that ties in with what did I learn from this activity, because you're going to say what you learned and where is it going to go. So those 2 points are key as well, because if you didn't learn from it, it's not really an activity, because you're not progressing. It's not something that's helped you a great deal. So always bear that in mind when you ask yourself, was this an activity for my CPD? Well, did you learn from it? If the answer is yes, put it in there. So we'll move on to the upload files. I've mentioned that already. You can add them if you wish. It is not mandatory, but the option is there if you wish to do so. You might want to upload a certificate or whatever it may be. And then we come down to the assign activity type. We spoke a moment ago about the development plan. We want to ignore that now. As mentioned before, one development plan is enough. Activities, we can have as many as we like. Now, I did a presentation similar to this, or almost identical really, yesterday. So it's not my first time doing it. So it is not a new professional skill. Of course, new professional skills, something that you have done, you beg your pardon, something that you've never done before. I'm going to look at maintenance of skills, because this is something that I have done before, but I'm still learning each time I do it. Transferable management skills is something where you're passing on knowledge to somebody else. So of course, this would go in there as well. But for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to click just section B, because we'll come back to that in just a moment. So for now, it's just the maintenance of skills, and I will click save. And that takes us back to the main page, screen 1, as I mentioned before, of the CPD. But we can't see the activity. Where's it gone? So we need to click here on expand all sections, and that will open up our development plan and our completed activities, so we can take a look, and there it is there under section B. So that's an activity finished. Now, if you want to go back into it, I mentioned before, you can click you can click on the title. In this instance, West Africa Conference, September 2021. So I'll click on there. That takes us back here. Now, I do get asked, what do I do with an activity if I don't want it anymore? I want to delete it, I want to remove it, whatever may be. Quite simple. You can modify anything you want to when it comes to activities or development plan. You can update them, you can change them, whatever you like. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. So let's just modify the slides to the title. I'm top of my head, can't think of anything. So I put new title, IOSH presentation. There we go. We'll change the dates, just going to move some things around just to show you all that this can be done. Let's remove something there, new details. And then we're going to reallocate the activity. And the reason I didn't tick B and D is to show you that we can do 2. We can do all 3 if it's relevant. But in this case, we'll just do C and D just because it's different to how we did it a moment ago. And we'll click save. And as you can see, that's now removed the activity from B. It's now in C and D. And that's how you modify your activity if you choose to do so. The last thing I'm going to do before we open it up to some questions, I'm going to show you how to cancel an activity. Now, you can't actually delete an activity. As I've just shown, you can edit, modify it, however you prefer, but you can't delete it so it's completely gone. But you can cancel it. So we click cancel, simple as that, and click save. We don't need to change anything else. Click save. Boom, gone. Not there at all. However, if we scroll down, it's allocated here. So it does go into the cancelled activities section. Sadly, there isn't a box to just tick and delete, it's gone. That doesn't exist, but we can move to cancelled activities. But of course, you can click on there, we can't see it, so it's not as messy. And that's it. That's the end of the demonstration for the CPD. So for setting up a development plan, for creating an activity, for changing an activity, and to cancel it. So what I'm going to do now is turn back to Coyote. Coyote, if you're still there with us, I know there's been some issues with your bandwidth today. Hopefully everything's okay. If you'd like to read out the questions for us, please, and Laura and I will take it in turns as best as we can.
Okay, thank you, Matthew, for the presentation, and Laura. We've got some questions coming in. This is a question from Benjamin. Benjamin is asking, he's done the IOSH in 2012 and 2013. He wants to know if you could actually use the previous activity done for 2021, if those evidences can still be used in 2021.
Okay,
Laura,
so
do you want to take that?
yeah, okay. So your CPD record, the IOSH requirements are that you start your CPD record when you join IOSH. So you can add your 6 activities over a rolling 12-month period from the day that you join. However, if you would like to add your NEBOSH qualifications, you're more than welcome to do so. There is the facility on the CPD record to backdate activities. So if you've done your activity or your NEBOSH qualification from 2012, you can upload that onto your record. However, it's not a requirement from IOSH for you to do so.
Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thank you. Sorry, Coyote. Can we just go back a little bit? There is another question I think we've skipped past.
Yes, I think that's what I want to take that for Matthew.
Yep.
Could we change the notes of reflective account?
Yes, absolutely. As I was showing a moment ago, yes, absolutely, you can change the notes in the reflective account. So I think I'm still showing my screen now, aren't I? So I'll just show you very quickly. If I just jump back to one of the cancelled activities that I had a moment ago, let's have a look. What have we got here? New activity. So there's the notes. Again, every time you click on the activity, you can modify whatever you please. New information here, new details, etc., etc. And then once again, let me just change this from cancelled to finished so that the activity becomes live again. And you can see there, we've moved it, and there's those new notes I just added. So yes, absolutely, you can change the notes to the reflective account.
Okay, we've got another question from Peter. I'm not sure what this means, but I think it's asking if this can be added as part of the notes section. I'm not sure if it means the presentation. Could IOSH add this in this section as part of this notes section?
Okay, I'm not quite sure what that's referring to, but if you're referring to any guidance on the CPD, then we do have some guidance documents which we should be able to upload onto the platform. If you are struggling and want any further guidance, by all means you can email the professional development team and we'll be able to send you the guidance online. So it would just be an attachment that you can work through. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, I hope he's referring to guidance as well. Okay, a third question from Paul as well. He's asking the activity type for transferable management skills section. He's asking if this is for mentoring someone or if you are managing your staff.
Yeah, really, Paul. It can be both. Consider it as if you're passing on knowledge to somebody else. So mentoring is a fantastic example. Yeah, I implore you to include that as mentoring. Yeah, managing your staff, absolutely. Yes, if you're carrying out one-to-ones, and again, but ask yourself if it's something that's been beneficial to yourself. So if you learned from it, and it's a situation when you're passing on knowledge, then absolutely. As I said before, I would add that to my personal CPD as I'm passing on knowledge to people today, helping them out, and I was to learn something from this. So yes, if you are mentoring someone, managing your staff, carrying out training, that's the kind of thing we're looking for transferable management skills.
Thank you, Matthew. Laura, I don't know if you want to take this. This from David. How important is uploading of files, and which are we to upload to support our activity?
Yeah, okay, so in terms of uploading any documents that you might have, it is personal preference. The IOSH objective for the CPD record is that you reflect on your activities. It's not a requirement for you to upload any documents. That being said, if you have completed a qualification and you want to upload a certificate as well as your reflective statement, you are welcome to do so. And I believe Matt's already shown you the how to add that document onto your activity. But like I say, it's not a requirement. However, if you've got something you want to add, you're more than welcome to do so.
Okay, we've got more questions coming in, and this from David. He wants to know, would the CPD section recording be available to viewers after the conference?
I think so, yes. I have to admit, I'm not 100% certain, but as you can probably tell, this is being recorded, as was the one yesterday. So, and I was asked to do that. So I expect that, yes, that I do expect the recordings will be available after the conference.
Okay, then this actually from Kemi Aru Mosoye is asking, what is the minimum activity needed for a 12-month development plan?
Okay, so in terms of the development plan, obviously you do one development plan every 12 months. So you'll just keep adding to the bottom of your development plan. In terms of the activities, this individual activities, the requirement is 6 within a 12-month period. So that's 1 every 2 months or so. What I tend to advise people when they ask me about adding activities, they tend to say they've forgotten or they've not got time to log in. What I tend to advise, if you put 10-15 minutes in your calendar once a month, that way it's an ongoing commitment and you won't forget to upload your activities. And also, if you are adding one once a month, then you're already going above and beyond what is required of you. Now, you can add as many activities as you want onto this record, but the absolute minimum is 6 within 12 months.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Just a question from Matthew. I think this is directed specifically to Matthew. Matthew, can you explain further on the development plan? He said he has had development plans since 2018, and each year I write a new one. Am I only supposed to add onto the previous ones rather than write a new one?
It's up to you, really, to be honest. I do advise people to, let me just jump back. Laura, can everyone still see my screen? Still sharing?
Yes, I can see
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so this instance here, I've put development plan September 2021. So I've seen members have an extended development plan over the years, like yourself, David. You just said that you've planned since 2018. So if you want to, you can open the one you've got ready. Let's fast forward into the future and pretend it's March next year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So of course it'll be September 17th September, beg your pardon. So this is an idea of saying, so the next 6 months plans, this is what you, beg your pardon. And then you would change the title if you wanted to, development plan September, beg your pardon, it'd be March, wouldn't it? So we're filling it in March 2022. So you can modify it. You wouldn't delete this information, you would add to it. So it's extending. However, as you've mentioned, you've been adding others. That's fine. That's not wrong by any means at all, David. You are more than welcome to do so. The only reason I say is that to extend the development plan is because if you're doing it once every 6 months, you could end up with quite a lot here. But that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's the two options. You can extend the current one that you've got as you go on, or like you've done yourself there, David, you can create more as you go along. Either is fine. Either is fine.
Okay, this question from Martin Jones. How long must you wait from getting chartered to applying for Chartered Fellow membership?
Okay, so at the moment, you must be a chartered member for 5 years before you can apply for chartered fellowship with IOSH. What I would advise, obviously, because we are talking about CPD at the moment, if you do have any specific questions regarding fellowship, then if you want to email them across to us and we can answer them with you directly. We do have a chat function on the portal today. So if you want to message us directly, we'll be happy to assist you with that then.
Okay, thank you, Laura. We've got the final question from Michael. Matthew, would you like to take this? What if you learn something that you will not probably use in your current job? If I work in a chemical plant, but learn about lifting and slinging, very interesting. I will increase my general HSC knowledge, but not use in my current role. Can I actually use that as part of my CPD?
100%, Michael, 100% you can use that. There's no reason why not. I know what you're saying, because it's not in your current role. Is it relevant? Of course it is, because this CPD is not for your current job. It is not for your employer. It is for you and for you alone. It is your personal CPD, your continuing professional development. It's all about you. So I understand what you're saying, 100%, but you are learning from it. You said yourself, very interesting, will increase your knowledge. So that is a good example of a CPD activity. So yes, please do include that on your CPD.
Thank you, Laura and Matthew. We've got 4 minutes left, so there's no more questions coming in. So could we get 1 or 2 statements from you both? Can I start with Matthew? Matthew, any last statement for all before we close the session?
Just thank you really to everybody for joining us today. I really enjoy doing these sessions. It's great to hear from people, and it's always good to hear that people have enjoyed it as well. So please, if someone mentioned earlier about the sessions being uploaded, hopefully they will be. I do expect them to be. So people, please look for them. If you think that you'd like to have more information about CPD, they'll be on there. It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. If you've got any questions, I think Laura mentioned about the fact that we are around today, so you can send us messages. We can reply to you. But there's also our own teams. So for the professional development and standards team, if you'd like to send us an email with any questions, CPD or otherwise, someone mentioned about fellowship earlier, so you can ask about that as well if you wish to do so, or chartered. You can send us an email. The address is PDS, that's Papa Delta Sierra, PDS @IOSH.com. Myself, Laura, or our colleagues will be happy to answer.
Thank you, Matthew. Laura?
Yeah, I'd just like to echo what Matthew's just said. So thank you very much for joining today. It's a pleasure talking to all of you. If you do have any questions, like Matt's just said, send them across to us. We'll be logged into the session I'll be logged into the session till 5 p.m. tonight. So if you think of anything throughout the day, by all means, just send a message across and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay, thank you, Laura and Matthew. It's been an insightful section. And to our audience, for everyone here today, we want to say thank you all. And it's been a great pleasure having you for this section. So on behalf of IOSH, I want to say thank you, everyone. And Laura, Matthew, and every IOSH member present, will say thank you as well. Do have a great day. We hope to continue the conference continues after this session. So we're hoping to see you online as well. So do have a great day. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye now.
you. Bye.